with we now have our next match being the third match of Group B, this being Michigan State University versus Indiana University. And we're already starting to get into bans here. So from the side of Michigan State University, we do see more than likely some more targeted bans that it actually might be targeted bans, or it might be champions that start with A, with Annie, Amumu, and Nivea. So it may just be more of the cocky perspective from the side of Michigan State. And over on the side of Indiana, they're taking away some pretty big power picks and taking it a bit more seriously, taking away that Akali, that Nautilus, and as well as the Pantheon that has been a powerhouse since its recent changes. But these picks are going by fast. I assume they did progress. So on the side of Michigan State, for the first rotation of picks, we do have Darius up in the top lane for Sunlight. Really big meme on Nidalee jungle. Nidalee is pretty exciting, being I would definitely say one of those more skillful junglers, that you can show some prowess on, and also picking up the Lucian. Maybe it's looking like they are in pick order, may have done the draft ahead of time, so I'm assuming this is Chovy Faker Kadeem on the Lucian mid versus Sweaty Interns Lissandra. And then up on the top side for Indiana, we do have Speedy on Malphite as well as Teal on Mundo. So a very big tanky front line coming out from the side of Indiana University. And it does look like that Michigan State is going to be running that double 80 carry comp with the Lucian and the Misfortune. So Misfortune and Leona down in the bot lane for Michigan State University versus Jhin and Galio. So very, very beefy front line coming out from Indiana. But the thing is, in terms of those big tanky front lines, if you do have that damage to be able to counteract that, such as, let's say, a Kraken Slayer Lucian, and there's been a lot of Misfortune builds that have kind of swapped up the game. I mean, with the recent changes that came to itemization in Season 11, there's a lot of different stuff to see. And I also forgot to introduce myself. So for those who don't know, my name is Lai Stuya, better known as Stu over at the Ohio State University. And it is just going to be me solo casting this match for tonight. So in terms of the team compositions, it's really hard to say, because I think it's really, up in the top lane, it's going to be pretty rough. Having a full tank, having to, go against that melee Darius matchup, it's going to be really rough for him. We may have to see Teal apply some of that jungle pressure to the top side of the map. And otherwise, we're going to see what really Big Meme is able to do on this Nidalee. I truly do believe, even though Nidalee isn't as much of the dominant power picks we saw in the earlier seasons of League of Legends, with the likes of lots of Lee Sin, lots of Elise, lots of Nidalee, and stuff like that, where it was these aggressive, get-in-your-face junglers that are going to try to take over the map. Now, Mundo jungle, I'll be honest, I do not have a lot of experience when it comes to watching a Mundo jungle, in terms of just knowing that, they get, massive tank, massive frontline, beefy tank, which is honestly amazing to have. And again, for the backline of Indiana University, it stresses me out a little bit. They are more so lacking on the damage side of things, unless the button here on Jhin is able to really establish a lead, depending on the build that he's going. But I can only assume we're going to see that fleet footwork, Gale Force type of build going into the Collector. And again, with the Misfortune, I'm going to assume that she's going to be going more of the crit build, whether it be with the Gale Force or the Kraken Slayer, as opposed to the Comet build we've been seeing, where people are going Arcane Comet, putting a couple points into E and going in with a Man Immune into usually one of those mythic items. So we'll have to see what that ice decides to do. But, for Indiana University to have the only 2 damage, and again, with it being Season 11, tanks still do damage. A Malphite, even sitting there with 500 armor, is going to be able to potentially solo kill your Lucian or Misfortune. So when it comes to having this double 80 carry comp, Malphite, fantastic answer to that. But it is going to depend on how much this Lucian is able to bully this Lissandra in lane, as well as if we see Sweaty Intern making plays on this Lissandra. Lissandra being one of the better champions to utilize teleport for those teleport flanks to go in with the engage, whether it is the self ult or ulting someone else for that or not glacial prison. It's been a little bit, so please excuse that I Can't exactly remember every ultimate as I once did as I was casting more often, but either way, both of these team comps, some games you see and there you could say like, oh, it's really going to go one way or the other just based on draft. Uh, I would say like with how season 11 currently is in League of Legends, damage is a massive, massive factor, and I think that Michigan State. The only weird thing is that they don't have a lot of crowd control. It's a lot of range, but besides that Darius pull and the massive amount of crowd control that comes out from a Leona, which is awesome, going to be Danny K on that Leona, but you really have to make sure that you're keeping the Malphite, Mundo, Lissandra, and Galio off these carries. And that is a tall order to be asking of, just two people with that crowd control. Nidalee, 0 crowd control. Lucian, 0 crowd control. Miss Fortune has the slow on her E, but that's going to be it. And for her to be able to still, to be able to get a full bullet time off versus, the unstoppable force coming out from Malphite, the Lissandra in the back line, the Galio. Well, there's so many things that Michigan State needs to worry about. So in terms of, the damage aspect and maybe getting more of the early game snowballed easier, I would be, I would be hard pressed to believe that it is not going to be in the favor of Michigan State if they can get that early aggression. However, if Indiana is able to slow this game down, understand what their strengths are, then, I would say mid to late game, this is going to go in Indiana's favor. But, it'll be interesting to see here. And so, yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting game. Right now, we're seeing the very typical 5-point setup. You got all 5 players on the map just taking a look where each other are at. We do see some mastery flashes happening here. The Lucian only mastery level 4 to the mastery level 6 Lissandra, and, got a thumbs up knowing he has that advantage over him. But right now, we do see really big meme, probably going to go for that ward right there as he finishes the recall, swaps out for sweeper. There we go. We're not seeing Mundo do that. He actually is holding on to the yellow trinket for now. So maybe going to be going in with the plan of establishing more vision to help protect his laners from, as I had mentioned, the snowballing capabilities of Michigan State University. So otherwise, in terms of the runes that we can take a look at right now, we did see a lot of Aftershock Lissandra over the years. Sweaty Intern decided to opt for that Electrocute, so it's going to be a bit heavier damage coming out from him in the mid lane. But otherwise, everything is just about standard. We did see the Misfortune go for the Arcane Comet, but she did, that Ice did decide to opt for the Doran's Blade as opposed to the Tear of the Goddess start. So maybe going a little bit more aggressive and trying to, poke out the bot lane of Indiana University here. I do like to see, or actually, excuse me, I'm a bit torn by the Button's choice of cleanse. I'm someone that I myself am an AD carry main. I have played AD carry since about season 4, and especially in more recent seasons where you're so much more susceptible to burst. I think cleanse is one of the most useful summoners, but unfortunately, the Button is not going to be getting a lot of value from this because it's only the Leona that has anything that you can cleanse. Now, it may be game saving though. If the Leona comes in, gets the full, EQ ult off on you, that's that potential 4 to 5 second crowd control duration. Cleansing that can be a problem because again, it relies on Michigan State to be able to quickly jump and abuse the fact that either his cleanse is down or he had just popped it. So we are seeing a little bit of aggression up in the top lane. Sunlight establishing that level 3 to level 2 lead on that Malphite, getting a good amount of Darius stacks off onto him. And, a pretty big CS deficit has already been established there up in the top lane with Sunlight having 17 CS to Speedy's only 3 right now as that wave crashes in the tower. Otherwise, we actually see really big meme here, as I was talking about with this Nidalee possibly going for one of these more aggressive plays. Does have the Leona, and maybe the Button and Rock Tank are able to realize that this Fortune is alone. But besides getting poked out of his jungle a little bit, we do have the bot lanes responding. Misfortune is able to poke over the wall. Lucian coming up from the top, though, does get the Ardent Blaze off to get that movement speed, and Teal is looking very low. They're trying to DPS Button down. That Nidalee goes in, but that's going to be the flash going away from him. Both the jungle and the AD carry of Indiana being very low right now. Lucian going in for another dash, but that's going to be Lissandra meeting you. Flash and stunned up. That cleanse as we were talking about on the Jin, is going to save you, but not to that ignite. That's going to make you fall down, but that is going to be a first blood to that ice, and the really big meme is going to go for the button, but going to be taken out by Teal on this Mundo, and now they have that Lissandra passive to, my goodness, chase down Danny, and that is going to be a double kill for Sweaty Intern on this Lissandra, and already 4 minutes into the game, we've got a little bit of a fiesta going, and that is going to go into the favor of Indiana University. Right now, they did establish about a 500 gold lead from that, and Lissandra is sitting there with a 150 gold bounty. So it really was looking good for Michigan State there for a moment, especially as we did see the Lucian coming up from the top side of the jungle. But as soon as, you got to learn when to take your wins, and especially concerning that. And when you're overstaying as an Misfortune and the Mundo walks up and throws a cleaver at you, you have to instantly burn your flash. So that's going to be that ice with no flash for the next 5 minutes. But yeah, no, so far there's actually a little more action that I'd like to see. And again, I would say that in terms of early game, if it's supposed to go one of these teams' way early, it should be Michigan State. So for Indiana to have this lead right now could potentially be huge depending on how they can translate this. We do have the first dragon of the game just now spawning. It is going to be that ocean dragon. So we do know that, at least for the meantime, it's not going to be an ocean soul this game, with the other 3 elements being up for grabs. So far, we do see that the Misfortune has not backed yet, sitting on a good amount of gold right now. Chovy, excuse me, looking to get a bit aggressive on Sweaty Intern, but that is going to be Rock Tank here to respond. Teal coming in from the side, and there's no summoners for that Lucian. That's going to be him falling. The Rock Tank on this Galio support picking up that kill. We do see really big meme here in Italy trying to get in with a little bit of a response to this now 1v3 here in the mid lane. So Danny did manage to respond, did follow the Galio up here as they knew some stuff was going on. Misfortune was able to recall, and she did go for that first purchase of a Caulfield's Warhammer, no potions on the side of the button, deciding to go for the Swifties Rush, which I think is actually a very good choice. And meanwhile, up in the top lane, Speedy, knowing the vulnerable position he's in, being an out-of-mana Malphite, walking up to a Darius that's level 6, probably not the right call. Does manage to get that very thick flash over the wall to be able to escape that. So Sunlight up in this top lane, absolutely dominating right now. And otherwise, we may potentially see a Nidalee get. We do see both junglers on the bot side of the map here. We may see some stuff happening as Indiana is pushing up pretty far. Otherwise, it's no surprise that we are going to see this Mundo go a bit tank, probably go for that Sunfire. And Nidalee right now not having much besides that Darksteel, maybe looking to pick up some stacks with the early aggression that is going on, sweeping out the vision that they can detect from Indiana University. But otherwise, it looks like the game has managed to stop it. We are see the junglers are matching each other pretty well. We're seeing them both have their recalls synced, but Teal does have a level advantage up on really big meme right now, already having that level 6 from Mundo, and it can be pretty devastating knowing that the Nidalee may or may not be here, though they did not have vision of her recall, but this could be a 3v2 for Indiana here. Really hoping that Danny decides to engage on this Leona, but they're not really looking for it right now. The Jhin is level 6, and so they do have to prepare if they do start to disengage and run back behind their tower. They do have the current call to worry about. So right now, Danny trying to tank up the minions a little bit, see if Michigan State can get this freeze going and maybe try to remain in this position down in the bot lane. To keep having Indiana overextend. But right now, both junglers, Teal is actually seeing if he can actually pick off this Lucian here. The culling does come out. It's going to be tickling that Mundo, hardly making even a dent in that health bar, but he does manage to escape with his life. Flash is coming up very soon for this Lucian, and he does have the cleanse available for the Lissandra ult that also is up on Sweaty Intern right now. Otherwise, again, probably, it's 8 minutes in the game, even though there was about a 500 gold deficit not too long ago. It's back to even, but it might not be even now. Sweaty Intern going in with that Lissandra going to be instantly cleansed by Chovy Faker Kadim. That is a long name. That's going to be tough, but we do see the Galio being able to taunt up this Lucian. Danny K is here to stun up this Galio. Ignite's going to be thrown down, and Danny K, with that tick of Ignite, is going to be able to take out that Galio. And that is going to be a kill over to the side of Michigan State right now. 2-4, nearly 9 minutes into the game. Otherwise, we see some more plays going on, and Teal flashing away from that Darius pull. Danny going with a bit of aggressive play of his own, and oh my goodness, the amount of flashers are having to be burned. Lucian, yet again for a second time this game, tanking up that turret, and Danny's doing his best to be able to tank up these Mundo cleavers, maybe buying some more time with dragging Sweaty Intern over here, but that is going to be a kill over to him for his third kill of the game. But Chovy Faker Kadeem is going to be able to narrowly escape that Mundo dashing over the wall. So a little bit of, I always love talking about itemization, especially at these slower parts of the game. It is really interesting to see something I have not seen in quite some time, being the tier built on the Lucian, so eventually going to have that Muramana. But right now we do see Speedy maybe seeing if he can make something happen with Sunlight up here. Sunlight just, again, this is almost a case of cyberbullying with the lead that he has been able to establish up here. They are about the same in experience, but a very big gold lead over on the Darius right now. Does have that first item of a Phage. I don't even believe that, you know, from the old Black Cleaver builds we'd see out of Darius. Probably not going to be that, considering Phage was taken out of that build path. I would have to guess, you know, possibly a Stride Breaker that's going to be thrown down here for this Darius. Possibly even a Divine Sunderer with the amount of tanks that Indiana University has. I think that would be a decent pickup for him. It's a little strange since the mythic passive of Divine Sunderer does give hybrid penetration. It gives both the armor and the magic penetration. Darius isn't able to utilize any magic penetration considering everything he does is physical, but to have that percentage health damage against these tanks, I could imagine being potentially a good choice. I don't understand top lane itemization as much as I would like to, but you know, he's having to think of some options because the Malphite already having that Ninja Tabi finish, going to be very annoying for Darius to get in these slight brawls with him. I do like seeing Sweaty Intern, though, with that Oracle Lens already, being able to deny a lot of the vision that Michigan State has laid out here. You can see he's taking out 2 wards of that Sweeper and also the pink in the bot side bush, but right now it's looking a little scary. I don't think Michigan State knows that there's 3 members of Indiana in this tri-brush, and Nidalee just narrowly escapes them, but Danny, my boy, Danny's going to be taunted up, and that's going to be him taken down despite landing that Leona ult on the button. That is going to be him falling for the 3rd death of the game, but otherwise right now, even though I didn't believe with the itemization that Misfortune was going, I didn't think we were going to see a Manamune with that tier being built so early, you know, nearly 11 minutes into the game. Only 24 tier stacks really hurts. In comparison, when we did see the Lucian on his first back go for his own tier of the Goddess, he has about 140 stacks now. Lysandra getting hers a little bit later too. Seeing if they can pick off that ice, a very good Galio taunt is able to land to be able to be combined with that Gen root, but not much is going to happen. He's playing very safe, understands the susceptible position he is in, but right now Teal back up in the mid lane, seeing if he can punish this Lucian. Sweaty Intern does have the ultimate available. Are they going to see if they can make a move? The E does go in. He's rooted up, but he does get cleansed. The flash W is going to leave him rooted for a couple seconds longer. Sweaty Intern is so very low, but really big meme is not going to be able to finish that off. Does try to flash over the Wraith Wall, see if she can get a cheeky spear. If we see the spear hit on Lysandra recalling, it would be pretty impressive, but I think she's just going to be narrowly escaping. Maybe even throwing a spear at this this big Wraith that she tries to make her exit, but Speedy is here to respond, coming down from the top lane, does have that unstoppable force available, and there it's going to be. That Malphite ult taking out really big meme, punishing that positioning. You know, you're pretty deep into the red side jungle with no one there to really respond with you. And the button right now showing some pressure on this Misfortune, understands that the Leona is not there. Nobody is here with you. I'm going to root you up. That's going to be the bullet time coming out. The Gin Trap that is there to be able to get that slow. The 4th shot is available. Not going to be enough. Is going to opt to back out. Does not have heal. Has that cleanse instead. But the curtain call does come out, and that's going to be Galio seeing if he can tank up this turret for a couple seconds. But he's not going to be able to get in range for that taunt to finish off that curtain call. Right now, though, Teal up on the top side. Sunlight popping that ghost. He says 1v2. I can manage this. Not a problem. He speeds around a little bit, but he doesn't. He does not commit to going for one or the other. I'm not sure if he is aware that the unstoppable force is not available. The Mundo ult is not available either, so I truly do think he could take on that 1v2 with ease, and it's even better with Nidalee being up in this top side. Is popping that Herald there. to see if they can knock down this first blood turret. 15 seconds left for these plates to be received as Nidalee gets the 160 and Darius as well. But the tower does not go down yet. There is one turret plate left available to be able to see if they can stall that out for as long as they can. But looking at the turrets of Michigan State, though, 5 plates on 2 turrets and then 4 on the other, the turrets of Indiana are definitely looking a lot lower on the red side of the map here. Otherwise, taking a look at the scores right now, it was actually my apologies. It was not the Divine Sunderer nor the Stridebreaker. I may have thought the Darius to go. He did decide to opt for that Gore Drinker, trying to be the front line that Michigan State so desperately needs to be able to just sit in front of his carries, be able to tank up as much damage as he can with the sustain. But the Sweaty Intern is able to get that Leona done up there. That's going to be a Galio taunt. And despite that Leona ult hitting, Leona being one of the tankiest champs in the game, almost narrowly escapes. But Teal is going to be on a killing spree. And now with that 5v4 advantage is going to be looking towards this Infernal Dragon. So, in 2 minutes, I should say. Right now, Indiana does have the 2 first dragons of the game already at 15 minutes, being the Earth and that Ocean, and it's going to be the Infernal Soul. So if they are able to pick up these next 2 dragons, despite lacking the damage in the team composition itself, having Infernal Soul on this Lysandra and Jhin may be able to make up for the damage that they otherwise did not pick. But again, this should be... The early game is not going at all how Michigan State needed it to. Right now, Indiana is holding this game. The gold lead is not too far off. It's 9-2, so it looks a lot worse than it really is. You've only got about 500 gold between the 2 teams. The problem being these carries and the more aggressive picks coming out from Michigan State are not steamrolling as fast as they need to. An item that I have not seen, as I have not seen much Nidalee in terms of preseason and the most recent League of Legends season that has started, is Riftmaker. I find that very interesting, but it does make sense with the combination of Conqueror that really big meme has decided to opt for, so it'll be really interesting to see that coupled with the Lucidity boots. But right now, he may be in some trouble as he's getting knocked up and taunted by that Galio, and those Lucidity boots aren't going to help for now. And Riftmaker, if you're not in combat for that long, going to take you out just like Chovy just got taken out. Galio does manage to come in. Teal is going to be able to chase down Danny. Don't know what's going up on the top side of the map. There we go. The Jhin root misses, but doesn't matter. We got a Lysandra ult to be able to root up Sunlight. Sunlight getting a massive Q heal, but he does not have the ultimate available. Jhin is slowly ticking down, and he's just barely going to live with that potion tick. Sunlight almost able, had he used that Noxian Guillotine to be able to get that reset, a potential triple, if not quadra kill for him, that massive Q heal coming out, but Indiana does manage to win out on that one. So the 3rd dragon here going to be this Infernal, and it is now going to be Soul Point from here on out for Indiana University. And even though the gold lead was, hardly anything to talk about just a minute ago, with it being a 500 gold difference, now take a look at it. We've almost got a 2K gold lead on the side of Indiana University, and it is looking so very good. And again, it's so very scary right now for this composition, and it's something that I am personally biased against double AD carry comps for this exact reason. Unless you properly build it to where those are going to be the 2 carries for your team, it makes it so tough. Again, the Darius can only go in for so long with the sustain that he is able to get with this Gore Drinker, but it's this weird mix because Darius, especially in that opportunity right there we saw in that last fight, where he's not a tank in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to tank up damage, be the front line for my carries, and that's it. No, he's able to go in there and be his own threat. So it's kind of weird because besides the Leona, there's no dedicated support for this team composition. So I cannot imagine a world where, again, the biggest thing when you're playing or you're picking that Misfortune is the bullet time, and it's that ability to, you get them in a chokehold and you're able to unload thousands of damage off of one ultimate ability, and then potentially Lucian should be able to clean up with his, the autos and being able to weave in and out with his dash. So with him being behind, he does have the Gale Force finished on the side of the Lucian. but there is still no mythic item of Misfortune yet. You know, she hasn't died and she's still farming well, but doesn't have the gold she needs, and that's going to be Proto Belt going forward on the Chovy. And oh my god, the crit's coming out. The RNG is on his side today. The culling almost takes him out. That's going to be a shutdown for Chovy Faker Keem on this Lucian, despite Rogtank and Teal trying to be there. I'm not even sure they are aware of Sweaty Intern and where his health bar went. Oh my goodness. So that, man, as I may have been talking it down, the damage still exists on Michigan State. So they are starting to get that ramp up a little bit, you know, even just having that one mythic item. I think I saw 3 crits in a row there with 20%, which I'll be a little honest, tilts the living hell out of me as RNG is not on my side that often. Regardless, though, happy for you, Chovy Faker Kadeem. But, yeah, no, that's actually him picking up a very nice shutdown. Does manage to get the call fields finished off and working towards that mana immune. I think we're going to see a massive spike in damage once we see the Mirror Mana finish on this Lucian with that Gale Force. I think he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. So if Michigan State is able to hold out, let's say for even 3 to 4 minutes, maybe even 5, where they don't get into anything too ambitious and they're able to let this Lucian, get the items that he needs, it may not even be, the Misfortune is going to be the complementary damage. You know, she's going to throw down an area of effect slow and then get the bullet time that just zones off an entire area. So she's not really the carry in the sense. It is mostly going to be, in my opinions, with, how this game is looking right now and the current position of these players and their items. Right now it's Sunlight and Chovy Faker Kadeem from Michigan State. However, it's not really changing for Indiana because it doesn't really matter how well a Malphite or a Mundo does. You know what I'm saying? So the main purpose, actually, as Really Big Meme tries to go in for engage, but there's the bullet time coming out with that combination of the Leonel. It is exactly what we want to see. That is some good synergy coming out from Michigan State there, being able to take out Rogtank on this Galio. So a good pick, as Dragon is coming up in about a minute for this 4th Dragon that it would be for Indiana. But if Michigan can prevent this, if they can prevent this Soul, they can hang on for a little longer and they can start to ramp up their damage. But, despite the damage that is ramping up, I talk so much about Michigan State, but right now, Indiana, they do have the Sunfire finished on both of their frontline tanks. They have it on Malphite. They have it on Mundo. Malphite also having that Bramble Vest with the Grievous Wounds that's going to be more than likely applied constantly to the Lucian. Misfortune can kind of try to evade it, mostly just throwing in a couple Qs in the fight. Again, not a press the attack crit Misfortune that we have seen sometimes. That's a lot more auto attack reliant. She is there for the bullet time. So right now, both teams are posturing up around this Dragon, and it's going to be a solid 5v5. Every single member is up on both squads right now. It just depends on who is going to pull the trigger. And it's looking like it might be this Lissandra Ol, Sweaty Intern, possibly looking for an E over the wall to see if he can pick off the Misfortune. They do have the Denial of Vision with that Pink Ward in that cubbyhole, but it's a little annoying to have to, constantly dodge these Nidalee Spears, and, you have a Misfortune slowing you the entire time. And Danny K can engage on this Leona at any time. As can Teal, as can Speedy. They can just start running at them and hope that the follow-up coming out from the crowd control of the Lissandra and the damage on the backline from the Jhin, it's going to be pretty explosive. The Infernal Dragon has spawned. We'll see who's going to be the one to pull the trigger, who's going to start this fight off. They are playing footsies right now. No one's sure what they want to do. It is such an important objective to be able to deny the soul from them. That's going to be Danny K getting rooted up. The Leonel is going to hit. The bullet time does come out. That's going to be a 2-man unsolvable force coming out from Speedy. The Galio is going to come down, and that's going to be a 3-man knock-up. And Indiana University is playing this so well. Teal is taking no damage. Sunlight is going to be able to go down. Danny K is going to be in the next one, but Galio falls as well. And the button here on the side manages to Gale Force away. Does get the root, and the Collector doesn't even need to exist. Take out that Nidalee. The button getting a triple kill on this Jhin, finishing off 5-0 as they go for this Infernal Soul right now. I was pretty confident with the amount of damage that Jhin W had done to that Nidalee. I thought he had Collector. I was pretty confident he had Collector, but all he has right now is a Gale Force, a Kirsay Shard, and double crit cloak. That is one of the most Chad builds that I have seen from a Jhin, and it is paying off for Indiana University. A 500 gold bounty on this Mundo right now. or excuse me, a 500 gold bounty on the Jin, 700 gold, 1,000 gold if you are able to take down this Mundo. But that is a tall order for Michigan State right now. The only person I can imagine doing damage to this Mundo, especially with the lack of grievous wounds that Michigan State is just deciding not to opt for versus, you know, a champion that is nearly all healing. I would say that is probably the priority more so of the Lucian, because with Moral Reminder, that grievous wounds, the healing reduction, does increase from 4 to 60% if you're able to get the 3 consecutive autos off. But Misfortune, the chances of you getting 3 autos off on someone, it's not that worth it. Lucian does have the passive to get the double auto off. He can instantly proc that Moral Reminder. But I would say for that ice, the optimal choice would probably be... oh man, there's so many new items. I forgot the one. It's Chainsaw, I believe. It's the one that gives CDR health and the healing reduction. Because as opposed to the 3 consecutive autos for that healing reduction, all you have to do is just get them below 40%, I believe. So as of right now, I am being told that I have to restart my screen share session to get this synced up a little bit. So whenever the production on the other side is ready, I am as well, if there is going to be a slight delay and if I can be heard. So if something happens and I'm not able to see, just keep in mind that is the case. So right now, with that Infernal Soul being picked up, though, Indiana is in just such a good spot right now. The damage, despite only having those 2 carries, is just so significantly amplified. So it's so very scary. And unless they are able to instantly pick off the Lysandra and the Jin, because that's the thing, that's the advantage Michigan State does have right now. If you pick off the Jin, if you kill the Lysandra somehow, it's a win. The Malphite, the Mundo, the Galio does not have the damage to kill you guys. So right now, it's going to be a fight coming out, and that's going to be Chovy popping the calling and not going to be able to get taunted up by the Galio. The Baron is still alive. Sweaty Intern taking out really big meme. That's going to be the bullet time coming out, and the shutdown. That's going to be the bun being taken out. The only person left is Sweaty Intern. The Zoni's in the middle means he's going to be taken out by the Darius with Sunlight getting a double kill. Teal is on the side. He's there with Speedy. They're both tanks. They don't know what to do. They could actually run at them to see if they can just tank up more damage, but they're not going to be able to kill them. Danny is seeing if he can maybe chase him down a little bit, but man, that Mundo Cleaver with that Infernal Soul does so much damage. He can tank up turrets. He doesn't care. Look at the massive amount of defense that he has on this Deadman's, on the Sunfire. So much armor and even a little bit of magic resistance with that Spectre's Cowl even being thrown in there. But yeah, no, this is actually a splendid, turn of events for Michigan State right now. That is exactly what they needed. That is exactly what I said. You take out the Jin, and it is actually easier, it's easier said than done. But if you have him crowd controlled for even a second and he eats a couple waves of that bullet time, it's insane. You have the Gale Force finish on both the Lucian and the Misfortune, as well as their Muramanas. Muramana. Muramana is usually how I pronounce it. Regardless, though, the carries for this double marksman comp for Michigan State is starting to come online, and it is scary, scary, scary stuff. Darius finally opting for the first, both the Darius and the Nidalee. They both do have the grievous wounds for the side now, and I think that's one of the only ways that this Mundo is going to die, if you really cut down that. And it has to be, I would say, Darius and Lucian have to work together to take that Mundo out. You take him out, that's 1,000 gold back in your pockets. This game right now is even in gold when Indiana had such a massive lead right now. And again, they have the Infernal Soul for the rest of the game. They can't lose that, but they can, be able to take out this Darius. Another bullet time does come out in this chamber, and the curtain call does get popped. We're going to see if Danny K is going to be able to tank that up. It doesn't look like it's going to be a problem. A little bit lacking of the armor penetration from the Jin. Going Gale Force into Storm Razor, you do have a good amount of flat AD, going for that Infinity Edge third item. But again, right now, until he gets that last Whisper, we're not going to see a huge kapow come out from that curtain call until we manage to get that. But right now, it's looking like Michigan State, they really want to see if they can pressure this mid, and the Button, knowing what a susceptible position he's in, trying to avoid that Leono engage. So he does manage to get that Gale Force away. So right now, I believe I'm being told to disconnect and reconnect the video portion. So I'm going to do that. And I'm even going to rejoin so I can make sure that this is synced up to the best I can. Because we don't want any unsynced commentary here, so we're going to get it to the best of our ability for you guys. But again, right now, it is a nearly neck and neck game. I would still say that Indiana University still has the advantages of right now. Again, they have these tanks that are going to be just harder and harder to deal with as time goes on. And I don't think that Michigan State is itemizing properly to be able to properly respond and adapt to the situation they're in and the team composition that they're against. But we do have the Elder Dragon, the probably biggest objective of this game right now, aside from that Baron that, the teams are, wanting to fiddle around on. Elder Dragon with Infernal Soul. No, Infernal Soul, yes, on the side of Indiana with getting the Elder buff. Goodness me, terminology is hard, right? But if they are able to pick up this Elder Soul, Elder buff, goodness me. Okay, starting over. Elder buff executes enemies that are low. Infernal Soul does big damage. Big damage plus big damage equals win. And right now, there's not a lot of big damage coming out from the tanks of Indiana, but the bullet time instantly gets stopped by Unstoppable Force, and that's going to be Sunlight taking out the Malphite, though. He does try to go further, and the Galio does come out. The Zonius coming out from really big meme is going to be able to buy him a couple more seconds. The double Zonius and the stopwatch is actually insane to buy them more time. That is actually massively IQ. That's going to be 3 members down on the side of Indiana University with their 2 carries gone. You only have the 2 tanks left right now of Teal and oh my god, Rock Tank. And that's actually going to be Danny almost being taken out. That Ice is going to be able to pick up the kill on the Galio. But, oh my goodness, it's a fight until the end. The Elder Dragon is still up. Teal is here on the side. He does have the smite available, but so does Nidalee. It's going to be a 50-50 smite. He's not going to be able to get over the wall in time. And, oh my goodness, that is going to be the Elder Soul going over to Michigan State. And this game, despite them having such a rocky start, they're coming back to a position that is so very scary for Indiana. And that 1v1 is going to be the 1,000 gold shutdown going over to really big meme on this Nidalee. And that is going to be so much gold to finish the items that they need to finish out this game. And we saw the massive amount of damage, especially when it comes to tank compositions. One of those biggest counters is going to be that true damage execute that comes out from Elder buff. So this is so very massive. Right now, Michigan State is looking towards this Baron, knowing that the jungler of Indiana is dead right now. There is nothing they can do. The 2 carries are on it, taking a lot of damage until Sunlight manages to step up here, tank up this Baron. But there's not a lot of sustain on both the Misfortune and the Lucian right now. Besides having the Bloodline that is going to be in the Precision Rune Tree, there's not much healing there. We do see the Lucian, I believe, is going to be finishing off that Infinity Edge, and we do see the Lord Dominic's Regard is finished for the Misfortune. I think that is probably one of the best picks that is going to be taken 3rd item. I almost maybe would have even gotten it 2nd item. That is how beefy the side of Indiana is, where you are going to get so much gold value out of having that max health damage added onto this Misfortune, getting a few bullet times off, but we saw how easily punished that the bullet time can be. You're standing still. There's no mobility when you're laying down these waves of Misfortune ult, but instantly Speedy noticing Misfortune's ulting, I ult her, instantly tries to take her out, and that's the response you need to give. But with how much they committed to try to punishing that Ice, it was to me, I think one of the biggest saves there was the 2 Zonias coming out from really big meme, but he doesn't have the Zonias. This time he has to flash away from the Malphite ult. The Curtain Call does come out, but that's going to be a 2-man stun coming out from the Leona, having to eat that entire bullet time, but Sunlight is here on the side. That Ice is taking that Malphite out. That's going to be a killing spree. Leona tries to get away with Evo. We do have the Culling on the side. That's going to be the flash over from Trophy Faker. Kadeem trying to take out the button, tries to get a couple more crits. That Mirror Mana procs. That's going to be a triple kill for this Lucian of Michigan State. And oh my god, despite Indiana having such a massive advantage in this game for that first solid 20 minutes, it is going to go over, as far as I can tell, with the 5 members of Indiana University being taken out. You have 5 members of Michigan State knocking at your door. That's going to be the first Nexus turret. That's going to be the second Nexus turret. And that is going to be the game. Michigan State taking down Indiana University. Wow, that was actually a game that if I was meant to place a wager within 5 to 10 minutes of that game, I would have said that Indiana had that in the bag. But Michigan State stalled it out for the time they needed. They understood we get our 80 carries to 2 or 3 items, we are good to go. We take out Sweaty Intern, we take out the button, the rest is history. We don't need to deal with these tanks. They can't do anything. Despite Indiana getting the soul, and the sole objective of a game in terms of the Dragon Soul, not soul as in SOLE, but getting that Dragon Soul was such a big win condition, and they still were not able to translate it. But regardless, so that match was, again, as I had said, Michigan State taking down Indiana University. Taking a look at the damage graphs right now, look how much how much impact that misfortune was able to have, getting the bullet times off, maybe not even for the full duration, and still topping the damage charts there. Ironically enough, despite being the the tanky side or the tanky composition of the two teams, the highest damage on the side of Indiana University being the Mundo, followed up by the Lysandra and the Jin. But otherwise, again, fantastic turnaround from Michigan State to take down Indiana University. And after this, I believe we are now going to be continuing into the semifinals. So if you are wanting to continue watching the student-run Big Ten Invitational, be sure to stick around. We just finished the group stage that is going to bring us into semifinals here again. So my name is Lai Stuya, better known as Stu, representing the Ohio State University. And I believe I'm going to be joining you guys for these semifinals matches that are going to be coming up very shortly. So otherwise, stick around. We'll get these next games going in just a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. Hello and welcome back to the student-run Big Ten Invitational. This next match that we have coming up for you is the semifinals versus Indiana University versus our very own Ohio State University. Right now, we are starting off with the pro draft. So we'll start to take a look at what these picks are for each of these teams here for the semifinals match. Right now, we are seeing the bands going to be for the side of Indiana, the Thresh, the Nunu, the Echo. I would say all strong picks in the current meta, regardless if it's a champion that, something like Thresh, we are seeing, if you see a band like that, it is usually more at a targeted player that is just, more well-versed at that Thresh. But Nunu is going to be one of the more dominant jungle picks as well as Echo. So taking those off the table, fantastic. And they do opt for getting that Leona as the first pick, knowing that they probably took away the comfort pick of the support of Ohio State. In response, though, Ohio State has decided to ban out the powerhouse of the Pantheon, the Pike support, so the two support bands, as well as the Rumble away from the soul lanes of Indiana. And to respond for this Leona right now, they do manage to pick up the Misfortune and the Seraphine. Seraphine right now, we have seen it flex back and forth from both mid to support, but I would have to guess that is probably going to be the bot lane of Ohio State. My personal belief, just being the combination of Seraphine ult with the bullet time, is so very deadly. So even if it's mid, it can still work on later on in the team fights. But I think the potential for level 6 kills, if you do send that Seraphine to support, is massive. But they're not going to show what it is yet, because Ohio State is going to go for that jungle pick, picking up the Olaf to respond to Indiana's Hecarim. So again, these picks right now, we are all going super power picks. We're not, we're not toying around this time. Probably, two S tier junglers. I would argue to say S tier 80 carries. And depending on where the Seraphine goes, we know that Leona is also S tier in the support role. So for the second phase of bans, OSU does have to think about what they want to take away from their soul laners. They say, we're going to take that Mordekaiser away from your top laner. And then, for the side of Indiana, they have to think, again, is the Seraphine mid? Is it support? Regardless, we're going to take out another flex pick, being that Akali. You're not going to have it mid. You're not going to have it top. And then OSU just going to lock in that final ban, being the Garen, taken away for the top laner of Indiana, as the last ban for Indiana is going to be shown shortly. So again, both bot lanes, or at least the 80 carries, are picked right now. So I'm really interested to see what the solo laners coming out from Indiana is going to be. The game that we had just seen of Indiana University, they had a massive, massive tank comp. They ran Lysandra mid with the Jhin 80 carry, so the Jhin 80 carry they have again. But when they opted for that Malphite and Mundo, again, it had to be played properly. They had it taken away from them by Michigan State at the last, few minutes of that game. But speaking of frontline tanks, Ohio State picks one up of their own, picking up that Ornn up in the top lane. Definitely one of the more easily blind pickable characters into a solo lane. So I would say that's pretty well done on the draft side of things here. And, Indiana still trying to think, what's the response going to be? Shen, Hecarim, as well as the Leona and the curtain call from Jhin. I am seeing a lot of dive potential coming out from Indiana University right now. They do have the potential to kind of counteract that with the Call of the Horn, I believe, is Ornn ult. I can't remember. The Ornn ult that's going to be able, oh my goodness, and probably one of my most hated combinations. We did see the Galio support coming out from Indiana University last game, but this time they threw it back onto the mid lane. So we are going to have the Shen, Galio, Hecarim combination that Ohio State is going to have to deal with. And it's not just the fact that all of them have to deal with a combination that is pretty threatening. It's the fact that it is a no escape 80 carry. The Misfortune, anytime you bullet time, you're going to be, onslaught of shadows from the Hecarim. The Shen ult's going to come in. The Galio ult's going to come in. The Leona's going to come in. They have to play this super carefully, and I think it's going to be the combination of the Misfortune and Seraphine ultimates that will win Ohio State the game if they can execute it properly. The Ornn ult as well. Olaf and Aatrox are going to be the probably big disruptors that Indiana have to worry about. They're diving so far onto the back line. They want to dive. Indiana wants to dive onto this Misfortune and the Seraphine, but again, that means if you are diving so far forward, you're leaving your back line susceptible to their own mishaps. And again, Aatrox and Olaf, very hard to peel. The Leona's not going to be able to do anything for that Olaf running in. So it'll be, super interesting to see. And I know with this being OSU BGC, we got our boys of Ohio State here. We got Cyborg, we got Icelandic Hero, Inferno, Steve, Mock. So again, there's probably a couple personal fans, friends, and stuff like that for this Ohio State squad. I may personally be a little bit biased, but to help me out with my bias and to make sure that it's not skewed one way or the other too much, I am joined by someone from Indiana University, and that is going to be someone joining me on this cast, being King Jeebus. How you doing, Jeebus?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for asking. So I'm not sure if you were able to take a look at the pro draft as we were loading in, but as this draft fills out here, what are your thoughts going into this game?
Okay, yeah. So I was involved a bit on the pro draft. So basically, the comp that we decide to run is something that we kind of like a lot in scrims. It's a very heavy dive comp. We've got the Shen in the top lane. We'll have Hecarim in the jungle and Galio mid. So that's sort of the classic combo where Hecarim's able to ult onto the back line and get backup from both of those global ultimates. So.
Right. So just for a bit of background, you said that you were involved in the pro draft. Are you one of the coaches or the analysts for Indiana?
So I'm the manager of the team.
Okay.
So I kind of do a bit of everything, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I think in this draft in particular, it's mostly was mostly chosen by the players. I don't like mastermind the draft or anything. But
Gotcha. Yep. No, I just wanted to get an idea of some background as to the thought. And again, I do see the very obvious intention of this heavy dive composition, but looking at the side of Ohio State, we're seeing some pretty beefy skirmish champions for these solo lanes with Ornn, Olaf, Aatrox for the top side of the map. Do you have any thoughts and concerns with your laners in terms of these lanes?
Yeah, so I think the Aatrox that they last pick for mid is a pretty interesting counter, since usually you see the Aatrox in the top lane, but I do sort of like their answer to our dive comp, I guess. Or at least I would like it if it wasn't, us playing them. But yeah, so basically the idea, I guess, with the Aatrox and the Olaf is that, they don't care that much about the Hecarim or the Galio or the Shen diving in. They're happy to just tank all those guys up, sort of heal through the damage and just out-sustain them with, Conqueror and Gore Drinker and all of that stuff.
Right. No, that's absolutely understandable. So, I mean, otherwise, in terms of Seraphine as a champion, because we have seen her flex between the support and the mid lane role, were you guys having the intention that this was a Seraphine mid that you were looking at for the Galio?
No. We definitely, theoretically it could be flex. We were pretty confident it would be Seraphine support because it looking at the mids OPGG, it doesn't really seem like Seraphine is his kind of champion. He seems to play a lot of sort of melee, aggressive, skirmishy kind of champion. So we were pretty confident it wouldn't be mid. And if they did put it mid against Galio, I think that would be pretty fine for him anyway. So we just decided to blind pick the Galio since it's one of our mid laners' better picks.
Gotcha. No, absolutely. I mean, looking at the side of both the team comps though, and again with the win condition being the ability to dive that Misfortune, the Seraphine, I'm kind of wondering, mostly with the bot side of the map. Now, is this a move where you're really hoping the bot lane plays aggressive into these two, try to get an advantage, or is it one of those things where it's let's play it safe and wait for the Shen 6, the Galio 6?
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of the bot lane, I think there is some room to sort of wait for the global or sort of semi-global Galio ultimate to come in for dives. I do think they also can look for kills in the 2v2. Jin Leona is a pretty strong lane. MS Seraphine are both pretty squishy, pretty immobile. And I think that's sort of going to be sort of the theme of this game for IU is I think that we're going to have to try and sort of insta-kill the MF and the Seraphine in fights and then sort of turn around to clean up the rest of their team. I think that's sort of the way that we have to win fights is sort of prey on the squishy backline with the heavy dive comp that we've drafted.
Absolutely. And we've got about a minute and a half left before we'll start this new game fresh. But in reference to the last game we had just watched with Indiana University versus Michigan State, I was wondering if there was at least just one big detail that stood out to you from the side of Indiana that they may have made the mistake on. And then looking forward into this game, what do you think their primary focus should be on?
Yeah, I mean, last game was just a really big throw. I mean, it's just, we were in a really good position to win. We had the Infernal Soul, but we just sort of misplayed a couple of fights, and especially around the Elder Dragon. Once the other team gets that, sort of all your advantage is just kind of down the drain at that point. So I think it was just a couple of bad fights for us in the last game. I'm not too worried about it. So I think in this game, we sort of learned from our mistakes there.
Yeah, and that's probably, especially when you are playing in these types of tournaments, it's a bit rough for best of ones, obviously, and you have to just move on to the next bracket or however that particular one is working, because a lot of these, smaller little events, it's a lot about the mental. And, saying, as a player, from my experience, when you have a game like that where you're almost just so confident and sure for the entire time that it's looking like it's in the bag, we have soul and everything like that, and to eventually have it lost in the end, I think the skill that comes out from then on after is the mental fortitude that you can bring into these future games. Because again, you have to wipe your mind clean, say, brand new game, we got we got a solid comp. They responded to us well, but just to be able to, and again, it's something I talk about from my own experience, where there's sometimes it's hard to wipe away that feeling of like, oh man, that didn't feel too good. But I'm hoping to see a good bounce back from these guys.
Yeah, for sure. I have that experience as well. I actually used to play back when Big Ten was partnered with Riot. I played for IU.
Oh, fantastic!
So yeah, I definitely know what it's like to be in those situations. Usually, IU was sort of at the bottom of the table back then, but at least in this tournament, we've made it to the semifinals. Whatever else happens.
Yeah, no.
So
yeah, no, it is absolutely fantastic, and to get an idea, because a lot of my analysis comes from the position of playing a lot of AD carry and support. What was usually what you were playing competitively?
Oh, I've played more than one role for IU. Actually, I sort of started out in ADC and then sort of switched over to mid, and then also played a bit of top. So I've kind of been all around the map, So.
Yeah, you're a jack of many trades. It's what I like to hear, for people to be able to adapt to several different play styles. But right now, I mean, we're probably going to see the same standard 5-point we've been seeing the entire time. And as of right now, I mean, is there, out of, let's say, all the positions we have here for the early game, the first 5 minutes or so, who do you think is, a nice matchup to take a look at that you think's more interesting to you?
I'm going to have to say that we would want to take a look at the jungle matchup. So that's going to be the Hecarim versus the Olaf. I think Olaf is, sort of known as one of those very strong early game champions that does tend to fall off a bit later, whereas Hecarim sort of scales the other way around. So I think it'll be interesting to see if Teal's able to sort of keep up and farm with Olaf, not fall too far behind early game, and then come into the mid game able to ult in with the backup of the Shen and the Galio ults on top of him. So I think that's what I'll be keeping my eyes on here.
Well, one of the things that I was wondering, and again, I completely agree, it's a lot of focus on this jungle, but I'm thinking about the 2v2 of mid jungle versus mid jungle, because it's so weird to see the combination of like Olaf Aatrox and a Hecarim Galio, to where I look at that And I would say it's probably in favor of Olaf and Aatrox, but it's one of those things where it's like I could see this go like 2-0 either way. Like like someone's getting double killed, and it can be either one.
Yeah, for sure. And I think always, if in any sort of mid jungle matchup or top jungle, all those kind of early 2v2s, a lot of it also does come down not just to the champions but also to the execution. But yeah, I do agree. I think Olaf Aatrox should be fairly heavily favored in that, especially after level 6, where Olaf can just kind of ignore everything Hecarim and Galio do and just sort of run through them.
Right, and I would go as far to say that early Grievous would probably be fairly beneficial for both an Olaf and an Aatrox. I mean, it's one of those things where even if you're starting to win a skirmish, if it is one of those 2v2s we mentioned, for example, reducing that healing could make all the difference. And it is so nice to where I do think one of the better itemization changes that was made this season was every variation of Grievous Wounds being made 800 gold instead of just the Executioners, and then like 1,000 for Bramble and such. So again, with it being the AP versus, I would say Inferno is probably going to go more of a heavy AD damage build, with it being Aatrox mid and having the frontline tank of the Ornn top. Maybe seeing the what I believe is the chainsaw picked up for him, but right now it's actually, compared to last game where there was already a few kills going down around this 3 or 4 minute mark, it's pretty tame right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty slow game, and yeah, I agree with your point about Grievous Wounds. Actually, right, it was like one of the things I said right before I left is, guys, make sure to get Grievous Wounds. They got Olaf, Aatrox, Seraphine,
right.
Yeah, so I made sure to remind them. So hopefully they remember it. But yeah, it does look like a slow early game, which I think does sort of favor the Hecarim, as he is sort of hovering around mid, but I don't know if anything's really going to happen there.
Right, yeah, no, and especially with it being semifinals, and regardless of whatever the event size is or anything, like, it starts to get pretty hype once you get to like semifinals and finals, that people, instead of like going for super ham aggressive plays early, they're playing a bit more carefully. I mean, probably the only exception, as I'm saying that, is looking up at the top lane and seeing a bit of a wet noodle fight, because they can kind of hit each other forever and not much is going to happen. But Sweaty Intern actually getting pretty low from Inferno there, as Inferno does manage to teleport back as Galio begins his reset.
Yeah, it looks like still pretty slow. Olaf's kind of hovering around topside, but the wave's pushing in, so I doubt that Wilkie's really going to have any trouble there. But yeah, I think definitely the tempo should start to speed up around level 6 once we see the Hecarim ult, the Shen ult, the Galio ult, those kind of things really for the side of IU, at least that's where they're going to be starting the fights with. So
well, that is also a big thing that a lot of teams do have to remember when drafting these types of comps. And with so many people, with a lot of competitive players being so used to solo queue and putting in a lot of times on the ranked ladder, and with how the quality of solo queue games are, it's obviously very different compared to events and scrimmages and everything like that. So one of the bigger mistakes I usually see is like, hey, we're going to pick Shen, Hecarim, Galio, and then they start doing stuff before their 6s hit, and then it's like, the reason that you picked this, it's hard to even utilize it now. But right now, Steve is actually laying down a good amount of damage on the button here. Mach seeing if he'd be able to land this. If the Jhin gets away, that's going to be a flash forward, but a flash in response coming out from the Jhin, going to be able to root up that Seraphine, but not much is going to happen with Olaf hovering around the side. But those summoners being burned on each side, it may lead to something else a little later on here.
Yeah, a little bit of a misplay from my boy Button there, but he still got the heal. He did get a flash out of Seraphine as well, so maybe that's something that the Hecarim will be able to take advantage of as he's walking over to Dragon, looks like.
Well, something I wanted to ask you about, actually, which I'll save for a moment, is Hecarim does manage to go over the wall, see if they can take this Cloud Soul away. The Channel does come in, it's going to be stolen, and that's going to be Indiana picking up that first Dragon of the game. The Hecarim ult is going to come out, the Steve is all the way on the back side, getting feared by that Hecarim. So much damage is coming out, but that's going to be the Misfortune falling, a double kill for the Hecarim. Inferno going to be the next one to fall. Cyborg here a little too late, but he is going to be able to take out that Shen. And you're on too much, buddy. It's a 1v4, and that's going to be 5 kills going over to Indiana University. with that first dragon of the game.
And that's a 5 minute. That's a 7 minute. Sorry, that's a 7 minute ace right there. I mean, that was all 5 members of Ohio State just going down for that dragon. Yeah, I mean that's like just like I was saying, right? The action's going to start at level 6. I mean, it doesn't get you don't get much more action than that.
I was about to say it's a shame that I would love to know how to utilize replays and such like while we're spectating this game, because I would argue to say that was within 5 seconds of Galio and Shen hitting 6. Like that was so like. I mean, last time I looked over, they were 5, instantly 6, and then instantly ulted. I thought that was pretty insane.
I'm pretty sure Hecarim started that fight level 5 too. He leveled up to 6 in the fight from the kill XP as well. But
yeah, no, some
like
lucky
timing. Little gank in the top lane, but Wilkie will just flash out and be fine.
Yeah, he flashes away. It's just going to be a pretty easy punish for Olaf to walk up around him there, but otherwise does manage to escape with his life. And otherwise, taking a look at the farm, there's really, it's even up in the top lane, but the mid lane and the bot lane do have, a little bit of an advantage on the side of Ohio State. It doesn't really surprise me with this Arcane Comet tier misfortune, because it's just so very obnoxious to deal with the make it rain constantly. But otherwise, I mean, it's actually like for it being so early into the game, 8 minutes, like this is a good gold lead for Indiana to have.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a CS deficit in the mid and bot lanes, but since we got that 7 minute ace, that kind of sort of washes away any poor CSing or whatever, right? So yeah, definitely looking good. And Teal was able to steal that Cloud Drake, which is really nice for the Indiana University comp, since they're relying on a lot of ultimates with long cooldowns. The Shen ult and the Galio ult in particular are very long cooldowns. So the early Cloud Drake really, gives us more opportunities. You can see the pings in chat on the cooldowns, right? We're already getting ready to use them again.
Yeah, no, it's actually a fantastic point to mention. And, when it comes to all the elements of the different dragons in the game, Cloud gets memed a little bit. And speaking of different memes, we actually have possibly a sneaky gank coming down in the bot lane. I can't tell if he's out of vision or not. I know that Sweeper probably picked up that ward, but it does look like, both Button and Rock Tank are, pretty aware as long as they can see where Hecarim is. And in general, it's like they've actually been going back and forth, and I'd say matching each other pretty well, the Hecarim and Olaf, for quite some time. But with him being missing, you'd have to at least a suspicion.
Yeah, I think that's actually a Jhin trap there in the bush. I think when the Sweeper disabled it, they knew something was up, because
right.
MF and Seraphine don't have sweepers, so who's it going to be disabling that? Well, it's got to be that Olaf. But yeah, in terms of the jungle matchup, I think after that early dragon fight, it's looking very good for the Hecarim, getting 3 out of those 5 kills, picking up the 2 assists. He got a good CS lead as well. So I think so I'm hoping to see Teal just sort of take over this game. We actually. He actually just sort of rejoined the team very recently. We only had our first scrim with him rejoining the team yesterday.
Man, so pretty early synergy for just throwing someone into the squad that early is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, he played for us last year, but he didn't play in the fall semester because he was too busy. But we just got him back in for spring semester, so I'm really glad to have him rejoining the squad, and he's definitely doing pretty well in this game so far.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic to see the amount of talent that does come out of these universities, especially with how, most schedules are so strenuous for the students, and they still manage, put in the time for not only practice with the team, but individual practice. And a lot of times it shows. And I love the thing that you mentioned, with the Sweeper in the bot lane. And it's just the small little details like that you... Oh, that was a Spellbook Ignite from the Ornn that caught me off guard. I was looking at him like, wait, okay. But anywho, as I was saying, talent. It's so cool to see that, like, the small details that so many players don't think about, how deep this game can truly go, and just the small details that, can make a choice right or wrong, just having the correct intel from even something as small as, again, hey, they don't have sweepers. What happened to my trap? Like, some people wouldn't even think twice about it, walk in, die instantly. But speaking of people that might die, it looks like Shen's in some trouble here. That axe is going to do a good amount of damage. Slam down from Icelandic is going to results in a pretty easy kill there. I wouldn't even hardly call that a dive up in the top lane, but for Ohio State to pick up their second kill of the game, they're trying to come back piece by piece.
Yeah, it's like I said, I did play top lane a bit for IU, so I understand the situation Wilkie was in. He knew he was a bit too low, but he didn't have teleport. Ornn just keeps pushing him in, so you kind of stay like, oh, I can just get one more wave.
Oh, that's classic death sentence. That phrase that I've said myself, bot lane, just one more wave. The countless deaths that, and it's one of those things where you have to weigh the risk and the reward of, if I do go for these next 5 minions, am I safe to do, will I be giving them effectively 300 gold, or for getting this, potentially some golden experience, or do I recall, let it all die? Not only is it giving them a CS advantage, it's also the experience, and then not to mention turret platings. So it's hard to balance those out and weigh what the right choice is, but right now we do see Ohio State trying to secure this Rift Herald that they do have vision of it right now, but with Inferno coming down from mid, not much response is going to come out from Indiana, and there is about 1 minute left for them to utilize that Herald for plates if they decide to do so.
Yeah, so I think, the response here from Indiana is that we're going to be able to pick up the Mountain Drake, so that's not too bad of a trade. So I think looking at these lanes, all the towers on the side of IU are pretty healthy, so there's not really going to be a Rift Herald to sort of knock down a tower all the way and get, a huge amount of gold. And like you said, the plates are going to be falling pretty soon here. So I think overall that's not too bad of a trade for IU.
And it's all about those trades, right? Because it's not like you're just letting something it's like you get the intel. Okay, they're doing Rift Herald. What is our response? And knowing that their top laner is there, the mid was starting to collapse on it just in case as well. They have the numbers on the top side. Let's send ours to the bottom, pick up an easy objective for that second dragon. And again, the Olaf does manage to pop that Rift Herald. It is going to be, I believe, just enough time to pick up the plates. I'm interested to see if Cyborg tries to soak up that money, but it's all going to go to the Olaf. So a free kill's worth of gold, and I think a lot of people forget how insane that is, where, again, it's one objective. If you pop it before 14 minutes, it's not like this Olaf is 1-1 now. He may as well be 2-1, right?
Yeah, and so then, since the trade that was made was trading that Rift for the Mountain Drake, then you kind of have to weigh that against the Mountain Drake. It doesn't give any single person that big of an advantage, but, it gives like an extra couple armor here, extra couple MR there, so it's, kind of hard to say, how those stack up. But I think one thing where the Mountain Drake will have the advantage is, building up towards that soul, which this game looks to be the Infernal Soul, which is definitely going to be pretty high value for either team.
It is something that makes me sad. I know they had talked about it in the past, but I've really wanted to see them show the Dragon Soul in Champion Select. Because, for example, let's say the composition Indiana had drafted last game of, the Malphite top, the Galio, and, everything else that is just such beefy tanks like the Mundo and such. If you manage, imagine if they had an Earth Soul that game. Oh my god, I truly don't think they would have been able to even get touched, but Sweaty Intern seeing if he can make something happen here on Inferno. Teal does manage to get the pushback, and teleport does come out from Cyborg. We got a Shenol coming in on Teal as well. Olaf is unstoppable as he continues the fight, and that's going to be the Galio coming out, and bam, the knockup comes down. Inferno trying to walk back in. He's with Cyborg, but right now Sweaty Intern and Wilkie here is going to have to be able to flash away. He does manage to get the shield, and that's going to be a double kill actually for this Galio. Sweaty Intern seeing what more he can pick up, and that's Inferno going to go down. The Jinnel isn't even needed for Indiana to pick up some more kills and just get this game rolling.
Right, yeah, as I mentioned, that's what I like to see right there. But you could see, in that fight, the Olaf and the Aatrox, you could see the amount of healing that they were doing, because it's still pretty early in the game. We don't have any Grievous Wound yet, but there's some.
Speaking of which, there's more action in the bot lane. Man, am I familiar with this one. Seraphine being taken out by that Galio teleport, but that is going to be Button picking up that third kill for his Jhin. And man, oh man, can I tell you the amount of times I pushed up like that Misfortune and Seraphine and instantly get form. The second I even thinking about, I'm just like, dude, maybe this is a little greedy. Maybe I shouldn't go for that. Nah, I'll just get like a minion or two. And then suddenly the boys are there. And that is, that's definitely it's a nice response to see, because it's something that is very easily, you punish those every time. And I'm glad to see that they actually utilized the tools that they have to punish that over-aggression or greed, overextending. There we go.
Yeah. Although I will say, I do think the Shen teleport was maybe a bit overkill there. He kind of TP'd in with pretty low
No health. Yeah, that was
just like.
See, it was ambitious, but it's the thought that counts, right? You know, it's like, hey, at least my boy was there, just in case they turn it 2v3 somehow. My 200 health Shen is here, so again, a little over ambitious, but I think for top laners especially, with it being the role most common to utilize teleport, I feel a lot of them do get maybe could even be coined something like teleport anxiety, where it's like, if I have this ability, I don't want to just teleport to, like, it might be nice to freeze a wave or something like that, get some wave manipulation going, but otherwise it's like, where else can I use this on the map? And otherwise on the map, we are mid lane right now. As Inferno gets caught out, it's going to be Mach hitting the one-man Seraphine ult, and that's going to be a lot of damage coming out from Aatrox. The Hecarim does ult in, that Shen W is blocking so much damage, that's going to be Olaf ulting, that's going to be him, and Button is on a rampage despite Icelandic Hero taking down Teal. And Rock Tank is being able to stun up Inferno right now. Button is still on the side, a double kill, looking for the triple kill. The 4-shot does come out. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but that Shen is still taunting him up, and he's going for 1. He's going for 2. That's going to be the curtain call coming out. 1! Not going to be able to pick off Seraphine with the 2. The 3 is not going to be there, and the 4 just isn't needed. And Indiana are having what I would say, a fantastic performance with, and it's so weird that I feel like Aatrox started that out with confidence, and then that slowly but surely went south for them.
Yeah. So that fight was like, looked a little back and forth at first, but I think one thing to your point about teleports and stuff, if you look in the top lane, Ornn with that spellbook, he's actually on exhaust right now. He had no teleport for that fight, and because Shen ulted away, he didn't have anyone to throw the exhaust onto to get back to his teleport. So we just kind of stuck in the top lane. He got that top lane turret, but on the other hand, his team sort of lost the fight on the bot side and also lost the dragon. So IU now on Soul Point is looking pretty good.
Absolutely. So taking a look right now, it being nearly 20 minutes into the game, we do have Indiana University in the lead with 12 kills to the 5 kills of Ohio State. And right now it might pick up a 13th as Button with the 4th shot is godlike, taking out Mach on that Seraphine. And so now I have to update my statistics of it being 13-5 right now, a little bit more than a 1K gold lead for Indiana. What is the gameplay? What does Indiana need to do to close out this game?
Yeah, I think it's honestly just sort of just play for the soul right now, but it looks like they just want to fight.
It looks like they want to fight, and Hecarim's all the way on the back line. That's going to be Misfortune getting feared up. The Olaf ult is popped, and he is going to be able to, kite with the melee the best he can. But that's going to be Teal taking out Icelandic, and not even a struggle to take out Steve for his double kill, and that is one big pony. And now again with having that 3rd dragon, that soul point coming up in about 3.5 minutes, it's really look like it would have to be something miraculous and for Ohio State to kind of come back out of this one. And I would have to guess that if something is going to happen, as Cyborg walks up and exhausts the Shen, but it has to be something with the Misfortune and Seraphine, I think, because the Olaf and the Aatrox, despite they're 1 and 3, 2 and 4, they're almost successful in these brawls that they're engaging in. Like it's not completely doomed. It's not like an absolute wipe. They're doing things like this where bam, we got a good amount of Galio's health right there, but it's what happens afterwards that usually ends up not going in their favor. So I'm hoping to see as the Misfortune is getting close to 11, hopefully not going to die this Jin ult, the Gale Force to dodge the 1, but 2, 3 is all it's going to take. The 4th shot hitting the Seraphine, and Button is legendary, 8-0 on this Jin already with his Gale Force and Storm Razor completed nearly at 21 minutes. But they're definitely ramping up this game quicker than the last.
Yeah, I mean, Button kind of just styled on the best Steve right there, hitting 3 shots in a row with his ult. But he's 8-0 now, so I think to your point. So you were saying you think the comeback sort of has to come from the MF Seraphine. I sort of think of it the other way around. It's not so much about what the MF Seraphine do. I think it's more about what the Button does here. I mean, this guy is 8-0 right now. He's got the full bounty. I think as long as he positions correctly, and as long as he's careful, not to get hit by like an Ornn ult into a Seraphine ult or something like that, I think he can easily carry these fights with the amount of frontline that he has.
I completely agree. The one thing I do fear, though, as we did mention at the start of the game, with it being a heavy dive comp, I don't want to see Indiana get too over ambitious going to the back line and then forgetting about Jin one of these fights. I'm horrified to, possibly see it happen. I'm thinking like, as you had mentioned, he has 1,000 gold on his head right now. That's what Ohio State is looking at. They're licking their lips thinking that's how we come back in, and they're setting up a little bit of a death bush right now. Rock Tank is going to be able to evade that route coming out from the Seraphine. Does manage land a 3-man solar flare. But now that's going to be down for the meantime. I'm not sure with the current ability haste that she has if it's going to be up for this next dragon. But mid lane is going to be taken while maybe Cyborg tries to start up a fight here, but not going to get disengaged on pretty well. And it is pretty cool to see that again, Ohio State, they started to start to group together. They're like, we need to stop this bleeding a little bit, and they keep trying to make things happen, but Indiana's doing a good job of knowing when to disengage and knowing what fights they can and cannot take.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing about these sort of little skirmishes that are happening is this is sort of having this sort of dive comp with the Galio, Shen, Hecarim. It's like it has a very obvious strength that you can just have the Hecarim dive in with the Shen, with the Galio piled on top and just go hard. But the weakness is that that's sort of the only thing you can do. And so if IU wasn't willing to commit to a fight right there, they kind of just have to blow one ult at a time just to try and get someone out and then sort of regroup later, which they should do around this Infernal Drake, since it will be the soul for IU here. Well,
Ohio State is being very grouped together, and they are trying to take advantage as much as they can of the fog of war right now. They do see that this ward is here being covered by the pink. And right now, talking about Jin getting caught out, it's not going to be the Ornn ult again if he does manage to Gale Force away, but I thought that might have been the play. But otherwise, we do have the Infernal Dragon up right now. Ohio State is on it, but if Indiana gets it, that will be the Infernal Soul there for them. Teal, seeing if he can look like he can get around, does manage to go in. The Shen ult is popped onto him. The Galio's going to go onto him. The Charm comes out from Leona, but stopping that bullet time perfectly with that Leona ult. The Shen ult is going to be able to take, the Ornn takes down the shutdown from the Jin, and they do pick up the Infernal Soul. That's going to be Steve, the whole of his health bar being taken out by a Hecarim. Very fair champion and roll, and that's going to be a double kill for him. Mach is still on the side, trying to provide what he can for his team, but the 4 members still alive, even if it's just by a slimmer of health on Sweaty Intern. And the last one to be taken down is going to be Cyborg. He's an Ornn, he's tanky, but that is a quadra kill for Teal on this Hecarim.
Yeah, that's just that's an example of the kind of fight that that could have been in the favor of Ohio State, where they were able to kill the Jin while everyone else was sort of diving the MF and Seraphine. But Teal on this Hecarim is just so fed that even if the Jin dies, he can just sort of clean everyone up. He's just, now he's the one with the full 700 gold bounty since Mr. Bun lost his. So now with the Infernal Soul here, I want to say there's no way IU could lose with an Infernal Soul, but
and then what happened? Yeah, I was about to say, any other match, if I sat down and watched, I would 100% agree with you. But then we saw it happen, so that makes it a bit more sad. But it does mean that Ohio State does have some hope. It's looking pretty bleak, but if they manage to pick off Shen here, it's at least something. But look at the damage coming out from just a Shen taunt and a Q with that Infernal Soul. It's so much, and he's just killing as much time as he can. He's just going to go dance. Oh, he's having a blast.
Maybe.
Look at that, tanking up that damage. He gets the W, almost takes out Steve, which is amazing. And guess what? One person being caught out on Indiana means, guess what? Ohio State's going to get picked off as well. Inferno not having the best game on this Aatrox, but Cyborg is going to be able to narrowly escape. The Hecarim ult does come in. The best Steve is on this back line. It might be a time for a bullet time, and there it is. No damage is coming out from it right now, though, and that's going to be so much cruiser of Ohio State, and Ornn is going to be able to get that shutdown, and maybe it's in Ohio State's favor. They're trying to chase down Rock Tank. He does flash over the wall. The Make It Rain slow is not going to be able to catch up to them in time. But believe it or not, on that top side of the map, despite Inferno being caught out, Ohio State takes a little bit of a win there.
Yeah, I think again, this is another example of the sort of weakness of the global comp, where we didn't really coordinate Hecarim, Galio, Shen ults. In fact, Shen was dead, but Shen does have ult here. I don't know about this Baron start.
Yeah, this is actually very risky. Inferno does manage to teleport in. That's the best Steve going to be taking out the button, and they're turning on a Baron right now. Wilkie's going to see what he can do on the Shen, trying to walk up. The Jin trap does manage to do a lot of damage to him. Inferno's almost going to fall. Can he manage to heal it out? But no, the best Steve is going to be taken out by the Shen. And so much crowd control coming over from Indiana. That's going to be a throw from the side of Ohio State University, starting up that Baron, and now just handing it right over to Indiana University.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty fat Galio ult there from Sweaty Intern, you know. But yeah, that fight is just... you know, they're just 3 tanks, right? But they have the Infernal Soul, and they have a lot of damage there. So they're just sort of able to beat down OSU, and looks like they will take the Baron there. They should probably wait for Jinder. Oh, are they waiting?
They're actually waiting. That is incredible. Waiting that extra second, making sure that Jin doesn't go Baronless as well. And it's... and I'm actually curious in terms of... And I know you had said it out loud as it was beginning, but Ohio State starting up that Baron, when you're down this much gold, I'd have to imagine it's from a mindset of desperation of it's now or never, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like, you know, when you're in those kind of games, I mean, obviously they can't see the gold lead, but I mean, they know that IU has Infernal Soul. They know it's 27-9, so that, you know, they got a couple kills. They figured, you know, we just got to try something and hope it works, right? And also sort of going back to my earlier point about, you know, surely IU won't lose with Infernal Soul. I guess one key difference between this game and the previous is in the previous game, there was never actually any gold lead for IU. It was only the Infernal Soul. In this game, there's quite a substantial gold lead here in addition to the Infernal Soul. So I think that is something that definitely works in our favor here.
Absolutely. And even just looking at the items right now is, am I pronouncing that right, or, by the way, Wilkie?
Yeah, Wilkie.
Okay, making sure. Yeah, Wilkie being able to actually just bully Inferno right now. You know, he doesn't have, or Inferno doesn't have that Ravenous Hydra finish. It is pretty nasty to see that combination, though, of the Gore Drinker with the Ravenous Hydra Aatrox Qs. But we do have the finished Thornmail on the Shen, so, you know, it depends on if he gets that taunt off, so the Aatrox autos him. And, you know, you've also got it on, you know, the Bramble for the Hecarim. We don't see anything for the Galio, but it's on the Jin as well, and even the Leona. So they did, you know, you can be rest assured your team did heed your words to pick up that Grievous Wounds, and I truly do think that it's one of the biggest factors that, you know, is leading them to be so dominant in this game right now. Probably one of the only substantial item things to point out right now is the fact that the Muramana was finally finished on this Misfortune. Steve did not have that prior to these fights for that Misfortune ultimate. So it's making me wonder that when we finally do see it, unless, you know, Button decides I have an ult of my own, you know, opens up that curtain, you know, manages to chunk out that Olaf a little bit and sending Misfortune back to Fountain. But on the bot side of the map, we have Teal, we have Sweaty Intern. They're pushing in that bot while we have the other 2 mid. You know, this is a, you know, 2-2-1. You know, they're setting this up, and they're not even having any problems do this. Ohio State does not want to push the button to really try to get something, because, again, that draft is so hard to deal with. The Shen ult, the Hecarim ult, the Galio ult, like, even if they are spread up like, or spread out like this, they can get back to, like, you know, form like like the Power Rangers in an instant, or, you know, transform or something like that, because they do seem to work. You know, it's going to be more of that, you know, 5-man synergy, but I'm really not sure what Ohio State can really do to defend this right now. You know, they have these Baroned up minions, you know, they do have the supers flooding into the bot side of the map right now. I mean, I know you are, you know, much more on the side of the team that is currently winning, but let's say on the Ohio State side, what do you think their options are?
I think, again, it's just they have to kill the button. I think you actually made, I think, an unintentional pun there. You said Ohio State is afraid to push the button. I mean, I think the button's pushing them around right now.
Maybe subconsciously I was thinking of it. I don't know. That's pretty good, though. Make me seem smarter than I am, because I did not notice. But something else that was interesting, though, we did see the Ornn upgrade the Gale Force for the Misfortune, and I actually don't know the name of the upgraded Gale Force.
I believe it's Typhoon.
Interesting. But regardless, we do have, again, the most important objective, that is now this Elder Dragon is going to be taken to half. Inferno is stunned up by that Leona ult. The Galio ult does come out, and he goes. The double knockup. The button is on the side, but he's getting divvied by Cyborg, as well as the Olaf, but there's no damage coming out from them. Not enough, at least, and that's going to be the button slaying an Icelandic hero. You know, there's a double kill coming out for Sweaty Intern on this Galio. And again, that was the only time where I actually sat there with the thought of, I see him on the Jhin. Maybe he's dead, and it just wasn't enough damage to come out. There was a brilliant, I did see an exhaust go down there that, made a huge difference. Do you see the teleports going in? Iceborg, going to pump up the stats a little bit, going to take down Rock Tank, but otherwise, that is going to be Indiana University coming back for the semifinals here against Ohio University, taking them out, or excuse me, Ohio State University, not Ohio University, but 31-10 in this nearly 32-minute game.
All right, yeah, I wasn't. I have to say, I wasn't sure about whether or not to expect this victory, since we sort of came in as the second seed from our group after a bit of a throw against MSU. But I think this was I have to say, it was a pretty dominant performance. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit biased, but I mean.
Hey, no, as I was just mentioning in Champs, like, that's what I wanted to see, because it shows mental fortitude is a bounce back like that. To have like such an upsetting loss before, and I think some people are more emotional players than other, and I can definitely with it being a fault or a plus or anything like that, losing a game like that fires me up, and I feel like the squad of Indiana University, just seeing from how they played, they were fired up after that when they said that's not happening again, and they made sure of it, because that was that was a pretty dominating performance. There was a couple of hiccups, but I would say they closed it out pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm just waiting to collect all my channel points from the bet, because I had to all in on.
The delicious channel points for those that are participating in encouraging their gambling habit. If to make sure that you guys are voting in these polls here in the chat, you're collecting channel points if you're chatting, or if you're just chilling here in the stream. But if you got a favorite team, you can throw them down, even if you're a little biased and you're technically a part of the team. So you just go ahead and vote for them. But guess what? You saw the draft. You helped make it happen. And I honestly think that was probably one of the more gross displays of that Galio Hecarim Shen composition. And again, as an AD carry, I hate it very much. So a little bit of disdain for you, but that's okay. Otherwise, absolutely splendid game to watch. And I believe, if I understand correctly, that should be taking us into finals, which is going to be the best of three. So for those watching, we're going to get that next game started up as soon as we can. And Jeebus, any other words about that last game before we move on to the finals for the student-run Big Ten International Invitational? Oops.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's that much to say. I guess the only thing I have to say is I'm just glad we didn't lose with Infernal Soul again.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good relief. Not something you'd want to see twice in a day, but yeah, no, it was a fantastic game to watch, and so for those sticking around till finals, we will get this going as soon as we can. So thanks for watching and stay tuned.
Already took down almost dead. Bale's trying to frontline force when the root wears off. Bale finally getting out, but no flash from Sunlight going to secure the kill. Sunlight grabbing that one. Bale's in the backline. Joker goes and kills Binga, and a shutdown onto the Pantheon. It's a 3-for-0 Panhandler and Chomsu not even able to get in the fight. And now it can be Michigan State's turn to look towards this mid lane tier 2 already chunked low. Really big name brought back in, gets screwed up, doesn't have the Ragnarok available, so is able to get chunked down, but Panhandler being very careful around Danny K. Roped back in by Chomsu, good Hourglass to buy some time, he's not going to reset for Pike, and now the stun comes through, with the guy of the weak, Sunlight grabbing the top blow, and the Brittle is a shutdown. Well played, Michigan State. Oh, the support lives with single digits, and they find the kill on the AD carry. Now this is
very close fight.
Yep. Now it's almost going to be certainly the Baron here for Michigan State, as they have the AD carry down. They know Penn State does not have their biggest source of one of their biggest sources of damage available. Spike ulti still on cooldown. Instead, they'll settle for vision and go back and spend the gold they have gotten in the meantime. Nope, they've canceled the recall, so... Yep, just going to start up the Baron. Cinder in the area. They have all their members here. Penn State going to be fighting a 4v5. Grabs the hook on a Danny K. Tries to avoid it with that, but Thompson's already down. Doesn't get the death from below off. It's just a bounce house in Michigan State's favor. Vale chunks low. It's already 2 kills. Going on 3 for Michigan State as Vale just going to be slowly whittled down, but he's able to jump away with the shield vault. As now, Panhandler finally getting up, but he's immediately met with that ice, a person he does not want to be seeing right now. The enemy AD carry. Finds a good chunk out with one of his shots. Grabs the curtain call, but he's out of range already. Panhandler not going to be able to have that available for this Baron poke. Still 5 strong for Michigan State. Penn State down 2. More than likely going to have to give it Baron, save some miracle steal from Panhandler, but she's knocked up and put down. Chubby figuring on killing Vale now into the pit as well. Trying to get with 1 kill to make it worth it, but he can't do it. Michigan State is going to put him under, grab the Baron, and now the gold lead most solidly in their favor. 2K up, not 53 ornaments. Chops are going to cancel some recalls and possibly die in recourse. Does so. Danny K slays the Pike. And now it is a game solely in the control of Michigan State. From a very rough early game to now a solid 3K gold lead plus 4 ornaments. Gotta be feeling very good about themselves. Now, the question is at this point, what does Michigan State do with the Baron? They've gotten pretty much all the outer towers, save topside tier 2. So you're going to be looking for them to get these waves starting to move up, get maybe 2 waves synced, and then look to push onto the Penn State base. Jin, despite having a lot of damage, doesn't have a lot of innate wave clear to his kit, neither does Pantheon, especially against Baroned up minions. So there's a good chance that you can actually just levy some wave control, except they're going to look for the pick and set. Danny K going on to Panhandler, who does get out for now. Finally, Danny K goes down as the Orn ulti comes through. Panhandler chunked very low. The pick took a while to Deja Vu for now, finding really big meme off the side as the Elise is just dead to rights. Shelby Faker on a rampage, 10-5 on the Syndra as a double kill. This executes Chomsu from half HP. Vale trying to get onto the AD carry, but he's just getting kited away. The bullet time to finish him off with the Maokai, and it's just lonely Panhandler. Good Gale Force away from now, but it is the Unleashed power to one-shot the AD carry. And that will be curtains for the Penn State Invitational run. The Baron up minions in the base, a 5-4-1 in favor of Michigan State. They will end this game 5K in the gold lead, 1 game ahead, and will move themselves to the finals here at 8 o'clock. Once we do one more turn dive on the Shamsu, the ace comes through, Orton goes down, and the Nexus falls. GG. And for the first time tonight, the client works when I exit it. Great game there from Michigan State, able to go through what was an incredibly rough early game. Bot side of the map completely taken out of it. Misfortune able to find a fantastic ulti over the wall to turn a team fight, and then able to just continue to win out. Penn State not able to find a cohesive team fight unit, not able to find the picks they needed to win this game, just did not have the damage in the end, and they could not keep up in the later portion of the game. Michigan State going to be moving on to the finals on Ohio State's Twitch channel, which I don't have the link off the top of the head, but it's floating around here. I'll get in chat here in just a moment for us, once I find it back in the tournament Discord. But Ohio State going to be playing here shortly on or the Ohio State channel, going to be streaming the finals shortly here at around 8 p.m. Going to give these teams about an hour to cool off, take a quick break, as it has been a jam-packed day of League of Legends. So please be sure, everyone, to catch the finals of the tournament on Twitch TV /OSUBGC. So I'd like to thank everyone. Thank you everyone for tuning in tonight towards the Penn State League's coverage of the student-run Big Ten Invitational. Thank you towards the boys over at Ohio State for getting this stuff all organized. It's a fantastic event for us to cast some games, see some great League of Legends, and get these guys some pretty banger games to play. It's been a blast of a time. Thank you guys so much for joining us over here at Penn State League. I really hope you guys all check out the finals. Again, those are tonight at 8. Please catch us there. And I'm Infamous Trash. This will be it for Penn State League side of things. Good luck to Michigan State here and Indiana in the finals. And we will see you guys next time back on the Rift.